For 20,000 years, the galaxy believed humanity was gone. Their name became a whisper, a forgotten word in dusty archives. Alien historians spoke of humans as reckless, violent, and short-lived. To most young species, human was only a story told to scare children at night. A legend of a death world, people who burned bright and then vanished. But legends have power, and some feared that the silence was too perfect. On the edge of the galaxy, where stars grow thin and lonely, deep sensors began to detect something strange. At first, it was ignored as background noise, a ghost signal, but slowly, the signal grew stronger, sharper, and older than anything recorded. A pulse, repeating every few minutes, in a council chamber of the Velen Empire. Alien ministers laughed. Human ghosts, one said, slamming his claws against the table. Perhaps their dead world finally crumbles. Another, more cautious, leaned forward. The signal. It does not match any empire's technology. It is older, much older, and the direction is troubling. The room fell quiet when the word appeared on the holographic display. Earth's coordinates. For millennia, no ship had traveled there. The planet was marked as forbidden space, a dead world swallowed by dust. Every alien empire agreed. Humanity destroyed itself. Nothing remained but ruins, but the signal was real. Out in the void, shadow moved, a shape so massive that even battleships seemed like insects beside it. Dark metal stretched across kilometers, its armor scarred and blackened by forgotten wars. Its surface was cracked with age. But beneath those scars, faint red lines. Pulse-like veins of fire still, alive under dead stone. It was a warship, human, ancient, the Phantom, for 20,000 years. It had slept in silence, buried in darkness between stars. Now it stirred again. Alien patrol fleets were the first to see it. 3 cruisers of the Core Dominion moved close, laughing over comes, "It's only a wreck, a floating tomb." But when their scanners touched the ship, the laughter died. The readings made no sense. Synergy spikes older than their civilization, armor denser than their strongest alloys, a power core that seemed impossible. Then the warship's lights flickered on. Red scars across its hull glowed to life. One by one, as if the ship itself was waking from a long dream, the core ships turned to retreat. Too late, their engines cut out. Their systems failed. In silence, the Phantom reached out, disabling them without firing a single shot. Moments later, all 3 cruisers drifted dead in space. No one ever heard their final transmission across the galaxy. Whispers spread like wildfire. The Alari called it the Ghost. The Zell Empire named it the Phantom of Earth. The Drade Collective refused to speak of it at all. Was this ship truly empty? Or was it crewed by humans, preserved through ages? No one knew. Some claimed to see shadows moving inside its great windows. Others swore that a voice whispered across comes, a human voice speaking words no translator could break. Alien rulers dismissed it as superstition. Yet in their private chambers, they trembled. Humans are extinct, they told their people. Do not fear. This is nothing but debris. But in the silence of the stars, fear grew. On the Concordant Spire, the great council of the Galactic Core assembled. Hundreds of alien leaders filled the chamber, their voices sharp with panic. One delegate hissed, "If this ship belongs to humans, then they are not gone. They are waiting, watching." Another growled, "Impossible. No species survives in silence for 20,000 years." But the screens above their heads showed live feeds. The Phantom drifting with purpose, slowly turning toward the galactic core. Every day it moved further from the rim, its path deliberate. One empire sent a fleet of 50 ships to intercept. None returned. Another tried to destroy it from afar with planetary weapons. The beams struck the Phantom and vanished as though swallowed. Not even a scratch appeared on its hull. The galaxy began to understand. Humanity had not vanished. Humanity had prepared. Far from the council halls, ordinary aliens whispered in fear. In taverns, markets, and spaceports, the same question passed from mouth to mouth. If this is only one ship, what else lies hidden in the dark? Children asked their elders about humans. Stories returned of a species from a death world who breathed poison air and lived among storms that would crush others. A people who laughed at danger and turned disaster into victory. A people who, when mocked, answered with iron and fire. The more the phantom moved, the more the galaxy remembered. The ship itself said nothing. For weeks it drifted, silent and steady. Its hull burned red in the black void, like the eye of something ancient and furious. Then, for the first time, a signal escaped its core. Not a weapon. A transmission. Alien receivers across nearby sectors crackled with static, and then words. Not in any galactic tongue, but in the old language of Earth. Few understood it, but translations whispered the fragments. We are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over. The message repeated again and again, echoing through the stars. Panic consumed the galactic powers. Fleets scrambled. Fortresses strengthened. Alliances shifted. The mighty empires who once laughed at humanity now whispered of war and doom. But no matter their strength, no matter their numbers, they knew one truth. For 20,000 years, humanity had been silent, and now their ghost had returned. The galaxy had not slept since the first message. Every star system buzzed with fear. Every empire sent scouts, spies, and fleets. And still the phantom moved slow, steady, silent like a predator that had chosen its prey long before the hunt began. The warship was no longer just a rumor. Its image burned across every broadcast. Markets stopped trading when its silhouette appeared on the screens. Children cried at the sight of its burning red lines. Soldiers whispered that it carried the souls of dead humans bound in steel. For some it was myth. For others, prophecy. But for all it was terror. Near the border of the Zell Empire, a massive fleet gathered. Hundreds of alien warships formed a wall of metal, stretching like a barrier across the void. At their center floated the Zell dreadnought Karuan, pride of their navy. From the flagship bridge, High Admiral Valen sneered. His skin shimmered with scales that caught the light. Humans are dust, he growled. This ship is an empty relic. I will smash it and hang its wreck on my wall. His officers bowed, though their eyes betrayed fear. They had all seen what happened to the core fleet. They had seen the ships vanish without fire or sound. Still, orders were orders. When the Phantom arrived at the border, silence stretched across the cum channels. The massive ship floated like a dead star, its hull cracked and black, red veins glowing faintly. It did not fire. It did not move to attack. It simply waited. Admiral Valen ordered his fleet forward. Test it, he barked. Dozens of ships launched energy beams, missiles, and plasma fire. The void lit up with storms of light. Explosions rained against the Phantom's hull, but when the light faded, nothing. The ship had not moved. Not a single scratch marked its armor. The Zell fleet fell silent. Their weapons had done nothing less than nothing. It was as if the Phantom had swallowed the fire hole. Then the ship answered. The Phantom's hull pulsed red. Ancient cannons turned, not fast, but deliberate. As though each weapon remembered the galaxy it once ruled. A sound followed a deep, low hum that shook the void. Energy rippled across the Phantom's surface. And then, the first strike. One beam. Silent. Blinding. It passed through 3 Zell cruisers as if they were paper, cutting them in half before their crews could scream. A second beam tore the dreadnought Karuan in two, its admiral's laughter vanishing into silence. A third shattered an entire wing of destroyers in seconds, in less than 1 minute. The mighty Zell fleet was burning wreckage. The Phantom did not chase the survivors. It did not gloat. It simply turned and continued its slow path into the heart of the galaxy. As though nothing had happened, the message was clear. Resistance was useless. In the council chambers of the Concordant Spire, chaos reigned. They cannot be fought. One alien shouted. They must be negotiated with, cried another. They are ghosts. You cannot reason with the dead. The council had never been so divided. Empires that had fought for centuries now sat side by side, their voices trembling with fear. "Why return now?" asked the Ilari Empress, her golden eyes glowing in the dim light. "Why after so long? What have they been waiting for?" No one had an answer, but in the shadows of the chamber, some whispered the truth. Humans never disappeared. They prepared. While the great powers argued, ordinary people felt the dread more deeply. Merchants refused to send ships near the Phantom's path. Colonists abandoned worlds close to its trajectory. In the dark corners of the galaxy, strange cults rose, calling the humans gods. Some knelt and prayed to the Phantom, whispering promises of loyalty if it spared them. But others planned rebellion. Smaller empires, bitter and proud, declared they would not bow to extinct ghosts. They swore to build weapons greater than the humans had ever known, and yet, in their hearts, fear gnawed. On a hidden world, far from the Council's eyes, a group of alien scholars worked in secret. They had captured fragments of the Phantom's broadcast. The words played over and over, echoing in ancient human language. "We are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over." One scholar trembled as she translated the final fragment. Her voice shook as she read it aloud. "This is only the beginning." Her colleagues froze. The Phantom continued its journey, unhurried, unstoppable. Its engines glowed faint red, but its movement felt more like drifting than flying, like a shadow that chose where to fall. And always, it repeated the same signal. Across stars, across empires, across frightened ears, we are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over. Right. Each time, the words sounded less like a warning and more like a promise. On the world of Drahan, a young alien soldier stood on the walls of his garrison staring at the night sky. He had been raised to believe humans were nothing but monsters of the past. Now he saw the Phantom as more than a legend. He whispered softly to himself, so the stars might hear if they've returned. Then nothing will stop them. Far above, the Phantom's red lights burned brighter. Its weapons slept, but its purpose did not. The galaxy watched. The galaxy trembled, and deep within the silent ship, something stirred. Shadows moved behind its windows. Shapes of beings long thought, extinct. The Phantom was not empty. The humans were waking. The galaxy had seen the Phantom's first strike, and terror spread like wildfire. Entire fleets destroyed in moments, weapons useless. No defense possible. But the greatest fear was not in the smaller empires, it was in the hearts of the mighty. The strongest powers, the rulers of entire sectors, suddenly felt fragile. For the first time in ages, they remembered fear in the capital of the Velen Empire. The High Chancellor addressed his ministers. His tall, skeletal form loomed above them as his voice echoed in the grand chamber. "Humanity is not back," he declared firmly. "This ship is a trick, a machine left behind to frighten us." Yet his eyes betrayed doubt. Reports from across the stars arrived hourly. Every detail was the same. The Phantom did not fall, did not weaken, did not speak beyond its chilling broadcast. "Then how do you explain this?" one minister demanded, raising a trembling claw. 50 Zell ships destroyed in under a minute. Entire fleets. Do you think this is only an empty relic? The chamber fell silent. Even those who mocked humans now felt unease deep in their bones. The High Chancellor finally admitted the truth. If this ship is only one, and if it is not alone, he paused, his voice cracking, then the Velen Empire is not the greatest power in the galaxy. Humanity is. Across the stars, the Drade Collective faced the same fear. Their hive minds, cold and calculating, analyzed the Phantom's every move. Their endless swarms of ships should have been enough to overwhelm anything. But the Phantom had already proven that numbers meant nothing. The Drade Queens gathered in their central mind spire. "Humans cannot return," one hissed. "They must not return," another agreed. "They are a death world species. Their weapons will make the stars burn again." But no matter how they debated, Their conclusion was the same. They were powerless. Even the collective could not explain the phantom. Its technology was beyond logic. Beyond time, at the Concordant Spire, where the Galactic Council met, panic replaced order. Leaders shouted over each other, their voices full of rage and fear. "We must destroy it before it reaches the core," screamed one. "With what?" demanded another. "You saw the fleets burn. What weapon do we have that can stand against this?" "Perhaps we should kneel," whispered a third, quieter than the rest. The word sent shock through the chamber. Kneel. Two humans. The thought was unthinkable. Yet for the first time in 20,000 years, it did not sound impossible. The council fell into silence. Every leader looked at the great display above them, the phantom, still moving, still silent, still unstoppable. Meanwhile, in the streets of alien cities, fear spread faster than fire. Markets collapsed as trade routes near the phantom's path were abandoned. Refugees fled colonies, begging for safe passage to distant worlds. Some even carved the human symbol into their walls, hoping it would protect them from the wrath of the phantom. Others were not afraid. They were in awe. Small groups began to worship humanity. They called themselves the Silent Faith. To them, the phantom was not a warship but a holy vessel, proof that humans had transcended death. One preacher shouted in a crowded marketplace, 20,000 years they slept. 20,000 years they prepared. And now the children of Earth rise again. Bow or be broken. Many spat at him. Many laughed. But many more listened. In secret military bunkers, alien generals scrambled to prepare. Super weapons were rushed into production. Old rivalries were forgotten as enemies joined forces, desperate to build something that could match the phantom. But their hearts knew the truth. They were too late. Whatever humanity had become, it was already beyond their reach. Still, they clung to hope. On a lonely observation station at the galaxy's edge, a young alien officer sat before a cracked screen. His task was simple: watch the phantom's path. He was not a soldier, not a leader, just a quiet clerk meant to record numbers. But as he stared at the ship drifting across the void, his hands trembled. He had studied human history. He knew the old warnings, the stories that most dismissed as myth. "Humans do not forget," he whispered. "Humans do not forgive." His superior barked at him to stay silent. But the words spread, repeated again and again, until they reached even the council chambers. The phrase became a curse, a prophecy. The phantom itself remained unchanged. It did not rush. It did not hesitate. It moved with purpose, as though the galaxy's fear was nothing more than background noise. And then, for the first time in weeks, it spoke again. A new signal pulsed across the stars. Alien translators scrambled to catch it, but its meaning was simple: do not follow. The warning echoed across hundreds of systems. Some obeyed, but others could not resist. The core Dominion, humiliated by their first lost fleet, sent another squadron of ships. They approached with stealth, cloaked and silent. At first, they believed they had succeeded. The phantom ignored them, drifting onward. They crept closer, closer, until they were in striking range. Then, without a sound, their ships vanished. Not destroyed, not broken, simply gone, erased from existence. Every listening world went quiet. The core Dominion collapsed into chaos. Their people rioted, their leaders assassinated. Entire planets burned not by the phantom, but by their own fear. Back in the Concordant Spire, the council finally understood. This was not just about one ship. This was about survival. The Ilari Empress rose to speak, her voice steady, but her eyes full of dread. Humans are not myths. They are not extinct. They have returned. And if one ship can do this— She paused, letting the silence fill the chamber. Then what if there are more? The question froze every delegate. They had all wandered it in secret. Now it was spoken aloud, and the weight of it crushed them. If the phantom was only one ship, what was waiting beyond the dark? The galaxy trembled. The empires once arrogant and proud now shook like prey before a predator, and the phantom kept moving, silent, patient, watching. The humans had not spoken of peace. They had not spoken of war. They had spoken only of awakening, and for the first time in 20,000 years, the galaxy feared the silence of Earth. The phantom kept moving, silent, patient, unstoppable. No fleet could stand in its path. No weapon could touch it. The galaxy had begun to accept a terrible truth. Nothing could stop the humans. But then, the ship did something new. It spoke. For weeks. The Phantom's only broadcast had been 3 phrases, repeating endlessly across the stars. We are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over. Now, a new signal pulsed out. It spread faster than light relays, bouncing from system to system. Across 1,000 worlds, receivers shook, channels burned with static, and then a voice emerged. It was human. Deep, steady, heavy with age. But the words were not in any alien tongue. They were in an old Earth language, forgotten for millennia. Scholars panicked. Translators scrambled. Supercomputers strained to decode. And slowly, broken fragments appeared. We are not gone. Our war is not finished. Earth remembers every wound. The galaxy froze. On Ilari Prime, the Empress watched from her crystal throne as the transmission echoed through her palace. Her advisors bent low, whispering in fear. It is a declaration of war, one said. No, it is a promise, another whispered. The Empress' golden eyes narrowed. She had studied human history more than most. She knew of their endless wars, their refusal to bow, their strange ability to rise from ruin. Not a promise, she corrected softly. A warning. In the hidden chambers of the Drade Collective, the Hive Queens vibrated with unease. Their endless minds processed the human signal. But the meaning was clear even without perfect translation. They speak to us, hissed one. They speak of memory, added another. They have not forgiven. The queens fell into silence, something that had not happened in centuries. Even the hive mind, vast and eternal, felt small in the face of the phantom's words. More fragments arrived. Alien scientists pieced them together like shards of a broken star. The messages were chaotic, sometimes overlapping as though many voices spoke at once. The stars forgot us, but we did not forget the stars. Those who mocked will kneel. Those who fight will burn. The words on ordinary worlds, the effect was even greater. In taverns, miners stopped working to listen to the ghostly voices of humans. On marketplaces, traders wept as the words shook their speakers. On farms under distant suns, children clung to their parents as the message played over and over. For 20,000 years, aliens had told stories of humanity, tales of savagery, madness, and war. Now, those stories felt real again, but not all trembled. Some listened with awe. Some heard not a threat, but a call. The silent faith, once a small cult, grew in power overnight. They declared the Phantom a holy ark, carrying the last voices of the human gods. Across dozens of worlds, masses gathered to chant the new fragments. Earth remembers. Earth awakens. Earth rises. In some cities, the chants grew so loud they drowned out the orders of local governors. Entire colonies slipped into chaos, their people abandoning alien rulers to swear loyalty to the unseen humans. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber thundered with arguments. They are provoking rebellion in our worlds. One shouted, "This is psychological war." Another screamed, "They are already winning without firing a single weapon." The Ilari Empress rose. Her calm voice cut through the storm. "No," she said. "This is not war. This is a ghost speaking. They want us to fear. They want us to remember." But deep in her heart, she wondered, what if the ghost was alive? Far beyond the council, on a lonely listening post at the edge of the void, a young alien technician leaned close to his console. He had been replaying the message for days, searching for meaning. Suddenly, he froze. Hidden under the static, layered beneath the main signal, there was something else. A second voice. His claws shook as he amplified the sound. The voice was weaker, broken with distortion, but clear enough to understand. "We are not one." The technician's eyes widened. He whispered into the darkness of his outpost, "There are more." The news spread quickly. If the Phantom was not alone, then humanity's silence was more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Where were the others? Hidden fleets in deep space? Entire armadas waiting in the dark? Had Earth itself survived, building weapons in silence, while the galaxy forgot them? Theories multiplied. Panic grew, and across the stars the message continued to play, echoing like a drumbeat of doom. Finally, Phantom moved again. It shifted course toward a dense cluster of systems-rich colonies filled with billions of aliens. Panic erupted as ships fled, civilians abandoned planets, and fleets scrambled to prepare. But the Phantom did not attack. Instead, it passed slowly between the worlds, broadcasting the same chilling message on every channel. "We are awake. Earth remembers. This is only the beginning." Everywhere it passed, civilizations fractured. Entire colonies refused to fight. Some even opened their ports, lighting their skies with human symbols carved into fire. It was no longer a question of resistance. It was a question of survival, in the quiet of his chamber. The Velen Chancellor looked at the final translation of the latest fragment. His skeletal hands trembled as he read it aloud. "We are the dead who never died." The words echoed in his mind. For the first time in his long rule, he felt old, weak, small. "Gods help us," he whispered. "The humans are not ghosts. They are coming home." In the depths of the Phantom, shadows stirred behind its great windows. Shapes moved, figures tall and strong, walking the halls with purpose. Lights burned brighter in the ship's core. The message grew louder, and in the galaxy outside, billions of hearts knew the same truth. Humanity had not spoken for 20,000 years. But now, their voices had returned, and they were only getting stronger. The Phantom had drifted across half the galaxy without challenge. Every empire feared it. Every fleet avoided it. Every council argued but dared not act. But fear is never enough to stop pride. The galaxy's strongest empire, the Velen Dominion, decided to prove that humanity was only myth in the Dominion's capital. The High Chancellor stood before a war council of admirals. His skeletal frame loomed over the table, his cold eyes sharp with anger. "Too long we have trembled at shadows," he said. "Too long we have listened to ghost stories. Today, the Dominion will crush this relic and end the fear." The chamber erupted with cheers, but many of those cheers were forced. Every admiral had seen the Phantom's destruction of the Zell fleet. Every one of them had heard the human message whispering across the stars. Still, orders were orders. The Dominion prepared the greatest fleet in its history. 1,000 warships. Dreadnoughts larger than moons. Weapons forged to pierce worlds. The fleet set course for the Phantom. When the Armada arrived, the void filled with steel and fire. Hundreds of warships surrounded the Phantom from every side, their weapons locked, their engines glowing. The commander of the fleet, Admiral Theric, stood tall on his bridge. His voice was cold, his words sharp. "Phantom vessel," he declared over comms, "you are surrounded. Power down or be destroyed. Humanity is extinct. The galaxy belongs to us now." Silence answered. The Phantom did not move. "Fire," Theric ordered. The void exploded. Missiles screamed. Plasma tore the darkness. Planet-cracking beams lit up the stars. The fury of 1,000 warships slammed into the Phantom at once. The fire burned for minutes. The light was brighter than any sun. The admirals watched with satisfaction as the great shadow was consumed. But when the fire cleared, their smiles died. The Phantom was untouched. At first, disbelief froze the fleet. Then panic set in. "How can it still be standing?" shouted an officer. "It's impossible." Another cried. Admiral Theric clenched his claws. "No, it is human." As if in answer, the Phantom awoke. The red lines across its hull, blazed brighter, glowing like rivers of molten fire. The ship pulsed with ancient energy. For the first time, the warship moved with speed, turning its massive cannons toward the Dominion fleet, and then humanity's first true strike in 20,000 years began. The Phantom fired one weapon. Only one. A beam of white light, silent and precise, lanced into the void. It cut through 5 warships in a single stroke. The ships didn't explode. They disintegrated, erased from existence. The fleet recoiled. Thousands of weapons opened fire in panic. The Phantom's shields flared like a living storm, bending and swallowing the attacks as though they were nothing. A second weapon fired, then a third. Each blast carved through warships like they were made of glass. Within minutes, hundreds of Dominion vessels were gone. Entire formations shattered. Dreadnoughts that had ruled star systems fell silent and dark, drifting wrecks in the void. The Phantom glided forward, slow and steady, its guns firing in calm rhythm. It did not rush. It did not waste energy. It was as though the ship had done this 1,000 times before and was only practicing. Admiral Theric roared for his fleet to regroup, but terror spread faster than his commands. Ships broke formation, fleeing in every direction. Some tried to surrender, but the Phantom ignored them. Others turned their weapons on their allies in madness. The Dominion fleet collapsed into chaos, and through it all, the Phantom's broadcast echoed louder than ever. "We are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over." Voice carried into every bridge, every ear, every heart. On alien worlds, billions watched live feeds of the battle. They saw the Dominion's proud fleet crumble like paper before the Phantom. They saw the unstoppable red glow of human weapons. On some planets, riots erupted. On others, rebels rose. Entire colonies broke away from their rulers, shouting the human message in the streets. The silent faith grew larger than ever, their chants rising across starports and temples. Earth awakens. Earth rises. Earth rules. The galaxy was no longer afraid of a single ship. It was afraid of what that ship meant. By the time the battle ended, the Dominion's fleet was gone. Out of 1,000 warships, fewer than 50 remained. They fled without orders, scattering like prey before a predator. The Phantom did not chase them. It did not gloat. It simply drifted forward, continuing its slow path to the galactic core. Behind it floated fields of wreckage, glowing with fire, silent with death. The strongest fleet in the galaxy had been destroyed in less than an hour. In the Dominion capital, the High Chancellor received the final report. His skeletal hand shook as he listened. "One ship," whispered his minister. "One human ship destroyed our greatest fleet." The Chancellor turned away, hiding the terror in his hollow eyes. "If there are more," he said softly, "then the galaxy is already theirs." Far away, on the council floor of the Concordant Spire, the news arrived. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Dominion is finished. No fleet can resist them. The humans are gods. But the Ailerai Empress spoke once again, her golden eyes steady. "No," she said. "They are not gods. They are humans. And humans are worse than gods. Gods can be prayed to. Humans cannot." Her words silenced the chamber. Every leader there felt the same cold truth. If one ship could destroy an empire's fleet, then humanity was not returning to negotiate. They were returning to rule. The Phantom glided on, its red scars glowing brighter with every passing day. The silence of 20,000 years had ended, and the galaxy, trembling and broken, the Dominion's fleet was gone. 1,000 warships serious in less than an hour. The wreckage still drifted across the void, silent proof of what the galaxy now faced. For the first time in 20,000 years, every empire feared the same enemy. Humanity. News spread faster than light. From the smallest colony to the greatest capital, whispers became panic. Markets collapsed. Refugees flooded starports. Merchants abandoned trade routes that crossed anywhere near the Phantom's path. Children were pulled from schools. Soldiers deserted their posts. Entire cities rioted as the human broadcast echoed again and again. We are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over. The words felt heavier now. After the battle, they were no longer just threats. They were truth in the Dominion capital. The High Chancellor hid in his palace, surrounded by guards. His ministers begged him to act, to send more fleets. But the Chancellor's voice was hollow. "We have no fleets left," he whispered. "We are naked before the humans. One ship has broken us. What will we do if there are more?" For the first time in centuries, the Dominion was not feared. It was pitied. Its enemies celebrated its fall, but their laughter was bitter. If the Dominion's fleet could not survive, then what chance did they have? At the Concordant Spire, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber was chaos. Alien leaders shouted over each other, their voices cracking with fear. The Dominion is finished. The humans are unstoppable. They will kill us all. But some voices argued differently. They have not attacked colonies. They have not conquered worlds. Perhaps they want peace. Peace. A Velen delegate hissed, his hollow eyes burning. "You saw what they did to us. That was not peace. That was punishment." The council descended into madness. Some called for surrender, others for war, and some simply wept. The galaxy had never been so divided. While leaders argued, ordinary people acted. On dozens of worlds, the silent faith grew like wildfire. The cult declared that humans were gods returned from the dead. Their priests spread the human message across marketplaces and starports. Earth remembers. Earth awakens. Earth rules. Millions knelt to the Phantom, carving human symbols into their homes, painting them onto starships, even tattooing them into their skin. In some cities, entire garrisons of soldiers refused to fight, declaring themselves loyal to the children of Earth. Governments cracked. Armies broke. The Phantom had fired only a handful of weapons, but already it was tearing the galaxy apart. But not everyone bowed. In the cold halls of the Drade Collective, the Hive Queens met. Their voices hissed through the spires, cold and sharp. "We must unite," one declared. "We must become more than we are," another answered. "If we do not, humanity will consume us." The queens did what no one else had dared. They reached out to their rivals. Messages went out to the Ailerie, the Zell, even the shattered Dominion. For the first time in history, enemies considered becoming allies, not for peace, not for power, but for survival, yet fear poisoned even these efforts. No one trusted each other. Each empire suspected the others would betray them. While diplomats whispered in council chambers, fleets pointed weapons at their neighbors, the galaxy was uniting. But in paranoia, not strength. Meanwhile, the Phantom moved on. It passed through star systems, glowing red against the dark. Wherever it went, panic followed. Planets near its path were abandoned. Entire populations fled to distant systems, clogging starports with endless lines of refugees. But the Phantom never fired. It did not conquer. It only drifted, steady and deliberate, as if following a path only it knew. And everywhere it passed, the broadcast continued. We are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over. The words were no longer just sounds. They were prophesied on the world of Sereth. A small group of alien scholars worked in secret, decoding fragments of the Phantom's latest transmission. Their faces were pale, their hands shaking as the final translation appeared. "Listen," one whispered, reading aloud. "This is not revenge. This is return." The room fell silent. The scholars stared at each other in horror. If this was not revenge, then what was it? Back in the Concordant Spire, the Ailerie Empress stood before the council once more. Her golden eyes burned as she spoke. "You do not understand," she said, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. "Humans are not ghosts. They are not myths. They are predators. And predators do not attack for pride. They attack for purpose." The chamber fell silent. No one dared speak. The Empress raised her hand toward the great display, where the phantom drifted like a dark star. "This is not their vengeance," she said. "This is their beginning." In the streets below, chants filled the air. Millions of aliens, desperate and terrified, cried out the words of the silent faith. Earth awakens. Earth rises. Earth rules. Torches lit the night sky. Banners of alien empires burned in fire. Across the galaxy, order crumbled, and in the void, the phantom glided forward, silent and unstoppable. Its lights glowed brighter. Shadows stirred within. Shapes moved behind its vast windows. The galaxy now knew the truth. The silence of humanity had ended. Fear had returned. And the true war had not yet begun. The phantom had drifted for months across the galaxy. It had destroyed the Dominion fleet. It had silenced every challenger. But it had not stopped. It moved always toward the same direction, the galactic core. Every empire held its breath. Some prayed. Some planned war. But all of them knew when the phantom reached its destination, something would change forever on the last day. Billions watched as the warship entered the skies above the Concordant spire, the heart of galactic power. The center of every empire's pride, the phantom came silently, glowing red like a burning scar against the stars. Its shadow swallowed the spire's towers, its vast hull blotting out sunscreens and skylines. No one fired. No one dared. Instead, the phantom stopped. For the first time, it was still, and then it spoke. Across the galaxy, every channel erupted with the human signal. This time, the words were clear. Translators wept as they decoded the voice of humanity, ancient and terrible. We are awake. Earth remembers. The silence is over. The galaxy will remember us. The words echoed in every home, every ship, every soul. But the message did not end there. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The phantom's hull began to split. Not in fire, not in destruction, but in purpose. Massive plates of armor slid aside, revealing launch bays hidden for 20,000 years. And from those bays, light poured out. The galaxy gasped. Hundreds of smaller warships emerged, each glowing with the same red scars, each carrying the same terrible power. The phantom was not a ship, was a carrier, a seed. The human armada had been sleeping inside it all along. The smaller ships formed ranks in perfect silence. They spread across the skies above the Concordant spire, their formation like a blade hanging over the galaxy's throat. And then, more shadows appeared, from the depths of the void, from forgotten corners of space. From hidden graveyards of old battles, other phantoms began to arrive, dozens, then hundreds, each one split open. Each one released fleets of human warships, burning with ancient power. The galaxy had feared one ship. Now it saw an armada. In the Concordance chamber, alien leaders fell into panic. This cannot be real. One screamed, "There were not supposed to be more," shouted another. "They are gods," cried a third. But the Alari Empress rose again, her voice steady, though her golden eyes burned with fear. "No, they are not gods. They are humans. And humanity has returned to take what was stolen from them, the stars." On alien worlds, billions trembled as the skies filled with human warships. The silent faith erupted in celebration, chanting their prophecy. Earth awakens. Earth rises. Earth rules. Some bowed willingly. Others hid in terror. But none could deny the truth. The humans had never died. They had never vanished. For 20,000 years, they had hidden, building, waiting, preparing, and now they had returned. The phantom's voice filled the stars one last time. For 20,000 years, you'd laughed at our silence. For 20,000 years, you thought us gone. But humanity never forgets. Humanity never forgives. We were the silence. And now, we are the storm. The words shook the galaxy. In the void above the Concordant spire, the human fleet spread wide. Thousands of ships formed a wall of firepower that no empire could resist. Their weapons glowed, but they did not fire. Not yet. They waited, watching, demanding surrender not through words, but through presence. The galaxy finally understood. Humanity was not seeking revenge. Humanity was not a ghost. Humanity had returned to rule. In the quiet of his ruined palace, the Velen Chancellor stared at the skies. His skeletal hands shook as the human voice echoed in his ears. He whispered the words that every alien now felt in their hearts. They were silent for 20,000 years, and now their silence has become our fear. The Phantom's red lights burned brighter than suns. The human armada filled the skies. And as the galaxy watched, powerless and trembling, one truth